All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barbarian Yak Fest. I am your loyal host, Little Raven. It is Friday morning. It's a Friday morning yak stream over here in the Barbarian Lair, and I'm stoked to be here and feeling good today. We are waiting on Dr. Emerald Huggins of Awareness Oasis, uh, an amazing person, repeat guest, so returning champ. And let me just make sure that I am live on the Rockfin. Looks like I am now live on Rockfin, maybe, possibly. Thinking about it, thinking about going live on the Rockfin. Come on, Rockfin. Let's see. I hope my PC is up to the task today for this live stream. And we're going to talk about psychedelics today, friends. So I'm excited about this conversation. The last time we just kind of barely got into it with Dr. Huggins. We kind of like broached the topic very briefly, but now we're going to delve into it this time. And I did bring up a couple articles to talk about in the meantime. I'm attempting to go live on Rumble as well. And we'll see how that goes, I guess. I'm new to the streaming, folks. I am new to the streaming. Let's see. And so, yeah, waiting for Dr. Huggins. Going to read an article. We'll see if I'm live on Rumble. I'm potentially even live on YouTube, but it looks like I am definitely live on Rockfin, so that's good. We got one going for us. And while we're waiting for Dr. Huggins, I was just going to do a mental health check-in and read a little bit from a couple articles I brought up. So I have been feeling good lately. I've been feeling grounded. My trip to Mexico was very rejuvenating and kind of clarifying. It's an interesting feeling when it feels like your path is like, you can see it, but it's not completely clear. But you have like this general idea of like, okay, this is the direction that I'm supposed to be moving in. And you can just take like one step after the next. And just like with the podcast, like when I first started the podcast, I had no idea. I just knew that I wanted to elevate the human spirit. I knew I wanted to connect with people. I knew I wanted to create art. And I knew I wanted to do my part to make the world a better place. But I didn't know anything about like audio or, I mean, live streaming, forget about it. I had like a mental block about live streaming for a long time. But so you start putting one foot in front of the other, and you start like stacking experiences onto one another. And when you do that, it's like as you go, things become more clear. So it's like there's that old saying, like the journey of 1,000 miles starts with like a single step. But I feel like there's more to that quote. It's like each step you take on the journey, it like makes the journey more clear, clarifies it. And that's the beauty of like movement and taking action. And for me, like someone who struggles daily with depression and anxiety, it's like that's where depression will get you, is it will cause you to, or it will attempt to. The depression gremlins will attempt to prevent you from taking any kind of action whatsoever. And so what you have to do is just move forward, and you start to kind of like build this momentum. And when you're creating art, the art that you start to create begins to build its own momentum. Oh, hey, what's up? It's Dr. Huggins in the house. Let me bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, the founder of Awareness Oasis, my brother, repeat guest to the Barbarian Yak
Oh,
Fest.
oh my gosh. Thank you so much again for inviting me. And, it's always such a great time with you. And so I'm just so excited. Man, you're like a brother. Like, it's so awesome. So thank you for so much for having me.
Yes, thank you too, man. I it's always good to see your cool background too. It gets me in that
Oh,
cosmic.
thanks.
that cosmic vibe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just trying to be, we're star stuff, just like,
Truly.
I think it was Seeger that said that. It's just, we're made of something bigger and more than just this earthly form that we, see as, a white person or a black person or locks or this or that. Yeah.
Yes, or a raven boa,
All
or
right. I love
anything
it.
else.
Yes. I
We
love it.
no, it's true, man. Like and what's funny is that is like literally true, that we are
Yeah.
actually star stuff. That
Yeah.
like there's this it's a tremendous mystery. In fact, man, okay, so I want to do a mental health check-in with you first
Oh,
before we
good,
get
good. Yeah. Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
But then I also want to return to this idea about how we're star stuff, because
Yeah.
I've been having
Yeah.
some experiences in meditation and stuff that I would be interested to hear your take on. But
Okay. Okay.
before we jump in, Dr. Huggins, like just let us know, let the listeners know, like how have you been doing, and how's Awareness Oasis, and how's
Yeah.
everything going?
Okay, so things are good. If you haven't seen the previous episode, my name is Dr. Emerald Huggins. I am the founder and CEO of Awareness Oasis Psychiatry. I own a psychiatric practice here in Central Phoenix, and it's hot right now. But we're trying to stay in the air conditioning. We're trying to be as cool as possible. And so I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and I love just integrative psychiatry and making sure that we can get to the real reason why we're doing what we're doing. And I specialize in adult, adolescent, and adult psychiatry. And so whether that's PTSD or anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, ADHD, like you name it. So and I primarily work with BIPOC and the queer community. So yeah, that's why I'm here, just to help. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're here to elevate the human spirit. We're
Yes.
here to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
I like
Right.
what you say. I like what you said about like what we're really doing. I feel like we always get to these moments in the conversation where it's like what we're really doing here.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
meaning and purpose like beneath the outward like manifestation of what it is. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm a podcaster and a barista. You are founder and CEO of a psychiatric clinic. But
Yeah.
there is a deeper like what we're really
Oh my
actually
God.
doing here. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
did I mention last time my idea about, how people talk about going viral all the time?
Yep. Uh-huh. Like the going fungal and like
It's going fungal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I hope you do. Like seriously. Like that's amazing. Yeah.
Well, the great thing in my mind about going fungal is that you are all the time. Like you don't have to actually stress about things like metrics and
Mm.
all that kind of stuff. Like the mycelial mat will like take care of its own. It
Yeah.
it takes care of itself, and it takes
Yeah.
care of its ecosystem, and it does so like in the flow of nature.
Mm.
It doesn't have to like post to like 5 different social medias. The mycelial mat doesn't need a TikTok to proliferate.
Right, right. Exactly, exactly. And then also, I like that you said that because it is kind of mind-boggling, and just scary to see so many people use so many avenues to try to get there, and it can just be all so confusing and such a mess. But the more we get in tune to ourselves and practice meditation, then we can start to hear our own voice about what our beings feel like is the best way for us to communicate that message.
And that's becoming more and more essential and
Yeah,
foundational, like, as we
yeah,
move forward,
yeah,
because, you know, eh, you and I, we both inhabit this society, and this society is
yeah,
changing incredibly rapidly, and
yeah,
it seems to be, like, accelerating forward, and
yeah,
we do have, like, all these tools which are very helpful. Like, there's no way I would be able to reach people all around the world
Yeah.
without these incredible tools and streaming software and
Right,
my
right,
old
right.
laptop that just hangs in there, hangs tough.
Yeah. Right.
But like
Exactly.
at the same time, it's like these these are instruments that like we play.
Yeah.
It's not, these aren't things that we're being played by.
Mm,
And that
yeah.
actually can be like, that's actually quite tricky sometimes, I think.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head because these are tools, um, and we need to play them and not let them play us. You know, like it's just a tool. Like it's just a tool, um, and I think also a tricky thing, just in that like social media world in that realm, is like managing expectations and just getting real with yourself and just saying, you know what, I am going to go with the intention of seeing the people and the universe and the um, circle of people that I need to connect to, and then the
Mhm.
people that I don't, then that's totally okay and that's totally fine. Like it's not about just like blowing up and you have to
Yeah.
reach as many people as possible, but a lot of us won't reach a lot of people, and that's okay.
Yeah, I loved the perspective that you bring to things. It like fires off my neurons, like pow, 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 pow. So like returning returning to the metaphor of the mycelial mat,
Yeah.
the mycelium is not stressing out about reaching every, let's because there is mycelium in the desert, so let's go ahead and use the desert ecosystem. Even though
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
not as much of fruiting mushrooms in the desert because it's a little bit drier, there is that
Right.
same mycelial mat as everywhere else.
Mhm.
So the mycelial mat is not stressing out about like, I got to get every creosote bush within the like 10-mile radius or whatever. It's instead, it's like flowing with,
Yeah.
it's
Oops,
following
sorry.
its own nature,
Yeah.
and it's um, seeing where nutrients are needed. Like it takes nutrients from a one place to another place,
Yeah.
from a place where
Right.
there's an abundance to a place where there's a scarcity.
Yeah.
It will help to like send connections in terms of like chemical communications among organisms,
Mhm.
information about, it's doing it like, I guess what I'm trying to say is it is facilitating life
Yeah.
without like fixating on this idea of proliferation.
Yes. I love that. That's a really great perspective, and that almost in a way, I don't know why I'm like sort of thinking about this now, is that um, it doesn't have a like an abundant agenda. Like it's not like trying to like change everything. It's really just trying to grow and to live and to be, rather than like trying to be something that it's not, if that makes sense.
It makes absolute sense.
you know
And
yeah,
that's
like,
like the treasure. That's like the tesoro en español. That's like the treasure, is
oh
like
yeah,
being without trying to be something,
yeah,
allowing yourself to be, like allowing
yes,
yourself to unfold.
exactly,
And there,
exactly.
would you say, I feel as though there's an element of trust in that, and almost an element of faith in that.
Yes, right on, right, yeah,
Because it's
absolutely.
like you have to kind of faith in the flow of the universe, or faith
Yeah,
in like the Tao. Like I love the idea of the Tao.
yeah.
The Tao that is spoken of is not the Tao. I remember
Oh,
the first time I read that, Dr. Huggins, it literally blew
yeah.
my mind. My mind was literally like, I was like
Ah!
12 years old. I'm like, what?
Wow. So your journey started pretty early, it sounds like.
Yes, my I have like for as long as I can remember, I've always been fascinated in like the questions of like the why questions,
Same.
like the why am
Yep.
I here? What's
Yep.
going on?
Same. Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
were young, Dr. Huggins, was it sometimes like isolating for you? Because for me, like I found
Mm.
that I was always I wasn't trying to be deep. I was just trying to like, I'm interested in like the mystery and the ineffable, and I want to get to the bottom of things, and I want to like think about, you know, like
Yeah.
even things like, why am I even a human, and like what is going
Yeah.
on, and what is this
Oh,
idea of eternity? And a
yeah.
lot of my friends and people I was around were more thinking about like, and I'm not trying to say that there's like one thing is like
No, no, no,
somehow,
no. Let me
but
get my glass. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Right.
no problem.
Yeah.
Um, I heard this a lot when I was growing up of like, why are you being so deep? Just relax. I don't know if you had that
Mm.
experience at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know what? I did have that experience, and I remember uh my aunt, well, my aunt's aunt, but she was used to say to me, "Why do you act like an old damn man?" Like, because and like as a kid, she said that to me, but I think it's just, it really speaks to how we're all so different. And that my dad was a pastor, and lo and behold, like today is the anniversary of him passing 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so he was always so good at like treating us as, because I had three other siblings, so it's four of us. So he was so good at treating us the way that we want to be treated, and he would talk to us the way that we like to be talked to, and that was such a beautiful gift from my dad. But I could ask those tough questions to him, and like, well, if we're Christians, then, what happens with people in Africa who's never heard the message of Jesus and then they die? Do they go to hell? Or like, what happens if, this thing becomes extinct and, we're all a part of this ecosystem. So if this organism or, animal is not being fed, then that interrupts the entire ecosystem. And, just asking those like bigger questions
Yeah.
as a kid. And I remember like one of my fondest memories of my dad and him teaching me just about spirituality is, I remember being maybe like 11 or 12, and he, was teaching us how to just surrender to it all.
Mm.
And that was so, like, I remember that feeling of like just sort of just like letting go and not letting the universe influence, or not letting other people around me and the things
Mm.
around me influence, but just give into the notion that I don't have it all figured out, and that's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to first of all, thank you so much for joining
Yeah.
on the live stream on such like a important sacred day, Dr.
Yeah.
Huggins. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Yeah. Yeah.
touching for me. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Of
And
course. Yeah.
sending you love and good vibes always, man. And
Thanks. 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 Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like my father passed away not too long ago also.
Yeah, well, I
So
remember us talking about that.
yeah. But
And
oh sorry.
yeah,
What
no,
are you
no,
gonna
no,
say?
no, no. But I think that this, for me, honors him, like doing things like this, because he, loved his kids and loved us to flourish and to have deep conversations. And my dad was very analytical. And
Mm.
for us to be dialoguing about this, I know he's like smiling ear to ear.
That's
Like,
funny
seriously.
because my dad also very
Oh, really?
analytical. Yeah, he was a philosopher at heart, my father.
Oh, yeah,
Like, and
mine
we
too,
would have
for
yeah.
sure. Oh,
And
he
I
was,
remember
yeah.
my dad would always be like, "Well, I hate to say it, son, but you guys are gonna have to figure it out." Like we talk about like the problems of the world and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, "I hate
Right.
to say it, but it's up to you guys. You're the next generation. You're gonna have to figure it out."
Oh, that's
But
awesome. That's
really
beautiful.
quick before we
Sure.
depart from this particular topic, I was going to
Mhm.
ask you to elaborate on, and you did a little bit, but I would like to elaborate a little bit more on that idea of surrendering. the letting
Mm.
go you were talking about. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, let's just chat about that for a little bit, because I
Yeah.
think that is
Sure.
like
Why
very
not?
central. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it with going fungal and mycelial connection and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What's paradoxical and fascinating about it is that the way that like plants and really all life grows, like there is an aspect of letting go at the same time as there's an aspect of like getting the nutrients and things that you need. Like everything has to like eat. So there's like you know, I don't want to call it grasping, but there's like a sort of thing of like, well, all energy is only borrowed, and you have to give the energy back and stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so that
Transfer.
is
Yeah.
kind of like a letting go. And like
Yeah.
even when you move around the world, you're like burning calories, so you're like letting go of like energy and stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing of like letting go and like bringing unto oneself or something like that. I don't know. Your thoughts, Dr.
Okay.
Huggins.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. So right as you said that notion came to mind. Well, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but the power you give is the power that you gain. So like, when
Mm,
you are able to like let go of your ego and be vulnerable and open up, then you can get that in return, so that it helps to elevate you and take you to another level. I think for me, uh, I see this happening in a lot of cultures and in spiritual teachings where they're just talking about detachment and trying to let go of this fixed form of who we are.
mm,
And it's a lie. Because we're so much more than a podcaster. We're so much more than a nurse practitioner. We're so much more than a person who loves plants, which I sincerely, deeply love plants.
yes.
But we're just so much more. We're star stuff. We're just you like this. You cannot take it as just one form. Like it's a lot of different things, and I think for me that letting go is letting go of that story and that narrative about like who we are, because we're so much more than and so much more dynamic than that one thing.
Yes. That resonates with me also, because I feel as though in meditation I do a lot of visualization, and I've been doing a lot of like visualizing, and also just kind of like visions have just been kind of like coming to me of our chakral system. And
Yes. Yeah.
are
Yeah.
are you familiar with the geometric shape? It's called the torus. It's like a donut shape, and it
Mm-mm.
kind of if I have a chance, I'll bring it up and share it on the screen so you can see the shape of
Nice.
it. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
get too distracted right now, but it's like a donut that's always like folding in upon itself and expanding out at the same time, and it's like
Oh,
spinning.
I've seen that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's
And
when
and it's continually like going in a
it's
loop. Yes. Yeah.
and there's an aspect of like perpetual motion to it, because it
Hmm.
has this nexus point is like the center of the donut around which
Yeah.
everything spins and flows.
Yeah.
And I actually think that there's something there with like black holes, galactic black holes, that are
Mm.
possibly like the central spinning nexus point of like these gal- uh, tori, like metaversal tori.
Hmm.
But the deeper I find with these types of like energy things, the deeper that you look into it, either whether you're talking about like in your own mind, like inner knowing, or you're actually talking about like uh quantum physics and like what are those like really fancy microscopes called? I can't think of them right now. But like
Mm.
the deeper you look into something, the more complex it becomes. Like, so the
Yes.
moment that you try to be like, oh, okay, this
It's
is this thing,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
look deeper, and it's
Yeah.
going to become even more intricate. And then the
Yeah.
fractals,
Yeah.
like the fractal intricacy. So
Yeah.
not only is it becoming more intricate, it is accelerating in its
And,
intricacy.
and
Intricacy.
just see. Yeah. We got it. Boom. Perfect.
We got it. But yeah, so I think that is like So that's another thing I love about the Taoists is they talk about like if you want to understand anything really, you can study nature and the universe, and you can learn about stuff. And it's like that's exactly what you're saying, how we're so much more than. And really, as soon as you start to like use words to define something, it slips out of your grasp right
Yeah,
there.
exactly. And that's a beautiful, amazing thing. But unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are either stuck in their own box and bubble that they think that they are, and
Mhm.
they are applying that to other people. And so that it doesn't allow them to expand and give complexity to other people and to themselves, which in turns prevents them from giving grace to other people and themselves.
Interesting. And do you feel that though, coming back also to the conversation about technology as a tool and not a master, an instrument we play and it doesn't let us play, or doesn't we don't allow it to play us? Can that play into it in terms of like pigeonholing things and putting like because and are you also kind of talking about projection a little bit? Like people are if you start to like try to solidify your own identity, then it can extend to like how you relate to others in the world.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So if I am, because I honestly feel like these fixed beliefs about who we are and other people, how they are, is what makes us so polarized in this society. Is that
Mm,
we think that this person is only one way, but they're star stuff. Like they have so many things that
yes.
makes up who they are. And if we and once you define them as this, like you just said, it doesn't do you any good because it's so much deeper and so much bigger than just one thing. Because
Yeah.
I that happened to me a lot where in my lifetime I've been on panels and so many panels and like and thank you for future whomever asked me to be on another panel, but a lot of times I get these questions where they want me to be the spokesperson or give an answer to a very complex problem. Like, I'm on this panel of all white people and they're like, well, how do we recruit? How to recruit more diversity and more people? And I tell them like that's a very complex problem, and I'm not going to give you a simple solution for that. So that is your work to figure out. Like there's so many dynamics to bringing in diversity. There's so many dynamics that happens with gentrification. Like there's so many intricacies and things that are happening around us. And if you're only looking for one answer from me, then that's
Mhm.
just only one small facet of the problem. It's
Yeah.
so much deeper.
Did you say gentrification? Is
Yeah.
that what?
Yep.
Yeah. That's interesting that you pull that. Would you elaborate on that a little bit? Like
Yeah.
how the gentrification plays into that?
Oh God,
I
man.
know it's a big
What a
question.
hard, heavy problem, right? Because there's just so many dynamics that are happening. I can
Yeah.
share personally with where I'm at, and this is just forebrain for me,
Hmm.
is that I grew up in a very small town, right? And this was before the Great Recession and less than 600 people.
Okay.
And it was a really great upbringing as far as, I had an amazing dad. He was like, and mom, like parents, both of them. They were
Yeah.
really good at raising us and showing us who we are and really trying to develop us. And I think that environment kind of helped me and created me to be like fall more deeper into myself. And
Hmm.
that was good for me. But then, the Great Recession happened and So my small town just kind of people started to leave, and then neighboring towns that were like a little bit bigger, maybe like 55,000, 9,000 people, got to be more and more dilapidated. And, so white businesses started to leave, and then so like these I should say big businesses started to leave, and so it just took the towns deeper into this like desolate, not very edifying environments for humans, for development, and because there's so many things that I think we need in order to develop as humans,
Yeah.
safety, love, support,
Hmm.
education. We need so many dynamics. And when
Yeah.
you start to take
Diversity.
diversity, right, exactly. So when you start to take those things away, then you change a lot of the brains that are being developed there, because it's not being fed in the way that we want to see people grow.
Yeah.
Now, I originally from my small town, but then I moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I was there for a long time. And that's when I really started to learn more about gentrification, is because I would see these communities where they probably were thriving really, really well, in the sense that there were like a lot of Black people or people of color in this neighborhood. And then with white flight and the Great Recession. So it really started to change the dynamic structure. So,
Yeah.
so then, things started to boom, and people can't afford to live in those neighborhoods, right?
Right.
And white people and people with money start to come into these neighborhoods and build them up, buy all these expensive buildings and
Yeah.
houses and jack up the prices, and obviously pushing people of color out. The problem, obviously, is that uprooting people from their environment, um, unfortunately, with gentrification, that happens to help promote the neighborhood, and it gives more avenues, more education, more money, more things for people to do and to edify and to grow.
Hmm.
And then that pushes, people who are marginalized out into places where they can't grow, and there's no money there. There's
Yeah.
nothing there to really fulfill them as a person. I know I'm talking for a long time.
No, it's a really like tricky subject, and that's why I asked you to elaborate, because it's something I think about all the time, because obviously we see it happening all around us here in Phoenix too.
Right,
And it's
right.
every city that I've lived in, I've seen it happen. And I've been
Yeah.
priced out of like multiple cities now, and I'm hanging on here, but it's like I'm getting
Yeah.
priced out of Phoenix now too.
I
And
know. I
it's like
know.
y'all, like it's 100 and fuck this degrees right now. Like, why are there so many people here? What's happening?
I know. I'm guilty. I moved here in October, so I'm sorry.
Well, we're happy
I'm
we're
part
happy
of the
you're here.
problem.
Well, and I would
Yeah.
say, but this gets to it though, Dr. Huggins, because
Yeah.
like, you're also part of the solution. And it's like
Yeah.
how when as
I
soon as you
try to
start
be.
to like, sorry, I don't mean to be talking over you right now. I'm just
You're
getting excited.
fine. No, no, no.
Okay.
We're good. No, we're good.
As soon as you start to like apply what Terrence McKenna calls the small mouth noises, you start to
Yeah.
like use words to define things, it starts
Yeah.
to slip from your grasp. And it's like, so it is complicated, and there's like these convolutions to it. And
Yeah.
there's also like unforeseen consequences that happen, like things that can't be predicted start to
Yeah.
occur. So
Yeah.
like I'm elated that you moved here. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
stoked. Like
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
came in, you told me you were right across the street from the coffee
Yeah.
shop. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
I can't live in that neighborhood. Like I live down in the South, and then I work down up in Midtown. And like, but
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
how and I like it. I prefer it down here anyway to live. And I kind of
Yeah.
like to have some separation between where I live and where I personally kind of like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
like, so So yeah, the what frustrates me about
Mhm.
gentrification, and then I want to get into
Go
psychedelics
ahead.
too, the last, because we're at. Do you have like you got an hour this morning? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool. We're about 35 minutes right now, so I'll finish this and then we'll get into the
No,
psychedelics.
yeah, we're good.
Um, so human being, like I love humans. I love our like creativity and our
Yeah,
vibrancy and our resiliency and how human beings like will just create. Like you can, we're so adaptable and we're tough and tenacious and like ferocious in a certain kind of way. And like you
yeah,
put humans in a place and they're gonna like on some level figure it out. It might be very difficult. There might not be a lot of money and stuff. And
yeah.
that, so there's character there then that gets built. So like
Yes.
neighborhoods that maybe don't have a lot of money, there's like a lot of like character, a
Yeah,
lot of like a lot of expression, a lot of like, you know, there's also in any neighborhood there's like challenges and stuff too, and mental health stuff and substance stuff and all that as well. But like, so you have all this culture, and culture is just like human beings making something. It's like
yeah,
hard to put like a word on it, but it's like this
yeah.
moving, flowing thing that has its own energy and stuff. And then what bums me out is then when you have like this external force of like what I would kind of call like predatory capitalism, even though I'm trying not to use as many of
Mm,
the isms these days because I think isms make schisms, but like it's hard to not call these things like on some level predatory capitalism. And
yeah,
you have
right,
like
right.
this money, and it's almost like a bird of prey like circling. It's like, oh, we got some culture, we got some culture here. And then it's like there's this thing that I've seen happen every time I get priced out of a city. Like there's this thing of like, oh yeah, you got to move to the city, it's so cool. But it's like, but wait a minute, but what is making it cool? Like, and are you cool just because you move somewhere, or is
Yeah,
that is something you have to sit with it, like being
yeah,
cool or whatever, creating culture, you have to like be in it. You can't just like
yes,
swoop down into it and build a condoplex and then all of a sudden you have culture.
yeah,
And unfortunately, like when if you come into it with that mentality of like, I'm gonna move there and build a condoplex and then I'm gonna be cool, or I'm gonna take advantage of this coolness and I'm gonna make money with this coolness, it
yeah,
starts to degrade then the culture.
yeah.
Or it at
I
least it's,
agree.
you know,
Yeah,
so
right.
that's where it really like makes me sad, like on a certain kind of level. And
I
you know,
agree. Oh man, you hit the nail on the head because I just want to share two things. Like one is that I have been thinking about that a lot lately in the sense that, okay, so you have these big cities like Phoenix and Portland, say like LA or New York or Philly. So you have these big cities, and really what makes it cool and culture is the artists that live there and
yeah,
the amount of art that can be contributed to that city or Nashville. Like it's really the artistry that makes that city cool, you know, for a lot of people. And but then we're pricing out a lot of artists who are struggling, like
because
who
it's hard to make a living
because
as an
it's hard to
artist.
make a living. So my theory is that more and more people and artists are going to move to not small towns, but like towns that are somewhere in the middle. Like how do I say it? Like maybe like a town like Boulder or like
Or
something
like
that's not
Durham, North
Durham.
Carolina.
Exactly. Like I
Yeah.
think we're going to probably see a shift of artists moving to these like towns, and then those are going to be cool. And
But
then
then but then the thing is like, then how do we have to then stop the runaway train though from them repeating itself again, you
yeah,
know? Or
yeah,
like
yeah.
we need to work like some sort of strategy to like to do that. And I certainly don't have all the answers, and I don't think we're gonna figure it all out right now
Nope.
in 20 minutes.
We won't be able to at all. But
I'm
then
gonna
like
need you to write up a draft.
right. But then
But yeah,
like my second point is that like this whole notion of gentrification, like why it's so forebrain for me too, is because my nieces and nephews are still in the small town that I grew up in, and it's really I love my town, but some of the neighboring towns are getting so dangerous. And you hear about all of these shootings that are happening. And, when you have people who are in poverty and a large amount of them, it's just kind of, you don't get this sense of community that you want to elevate and grow. And what I'm really trying to do is move them from that environment. And
Mm,
unfortunately, it seems like the more gentrified areas, like the bigger cities like Phoenix and stuff, it's just so much safer than being in a town where, you have, you know, this food desert, and
yeah,
you're so far from access to healthcare, and you're so far from just, you know, extracurricular activities that help us to grow and to develop our brains. Like,
yeah,
that's just not healthy. We've got to
yeah.
find
Well,
a balance.
and we have to like, okay, so bringing it back to the mycelial network, we have to like create cultural
Yeah.
mycelial situations
Yeah.
where we can like spread the wealth around, spread the love
Yes.
around, because it's like,
Right.
because the thing is
Right.
like I can't, so, and I love where I live, I absolutely love it here, like I'm happy, it's the industrial district, it smells like a paper mill sometimes I hear
Oh,
gunshots and shit, but like
cool.
I
Yeah.
like it. And
Yeah.
like that, so I don't like, and I also can't really afford to like move somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's
Right. Right.
like,
Right. That's
so
facts.
we need to like generate opportunities like within that. Okay, income cannot be the driver of opportunities anymore. Like that's the thing. And I
Yeah.
don't, that's difficult because like you need money to survive and
Yeah.
there's bills and all that kind of stuff, but it's like I just, there has to be a way, and I think it has to do with the like literally the evolution of the human spirit, just kind of like making ourselves a little bit larger in our perspectives, to
Mm,
where we don't have to like just constantly feel like we have to be like chasing like go from opportunity to opportunity, like all these different, and it's like, oh, I have to pay more money in order to like have access to these things, and
yeah.
rather like somehow figure out a way to create like healthy healthy ecosystems for humans without it being wedded necessarily to like a lot of money coming into the situation.
Right. Right. Right.
and
Right.
and that's where art comes in too, because like artist communities oftentimes don't have a ton of money, but they are like really cool, and people
Yeah.
do like support one another, and you have like mutual aid and things like that, and just like looking out for each other. And
Yeah.
like my neighbor is like a really gifted mechanic. He grew up in Cuba, and
Nice.
the like after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the island of Cuba like lost like 98% of its trading like situation, and so
Uh-huh.
they just didn't have like a lot of materials like coming to the island, and so
Yeah.
the people on the island just had to like figure it out because like life had to go on and like cars still had to be fixed. So
Yeah.
like Reynaldo, if I like have an issue with like, I used to ride motorcycles. Now I'm riding driving car again, but like I would have something go on with my motorcycle. He'd always be like, I'd be like, Reynaldo, can you help me? He'd always be like, easy. And he would just like fabricate the part like in his backyard. Like he was
Wow.
able to do that. Like,
That's
and maybe
amazing.
the part didn't look the same as if I went to like AutoZone or O'Reilly's or something, but the part worked and got me
Hey.
back on the road. And
Right.
it's
Right.
like,
Right.
and and then I would like try to like do something for him, or I'd give him like a book. Like I knew that he was trying to like lose some weight, so I gave him like a book on like herbalism and like natural eating
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's like that's just like one tiny example of how you can start to have that exchange of
Yeah.
like what's
Yeah.
needed for life without
Yeah.
it necessarily being wedded to like I make this much money's coming in.
Yes.
But
Right. Right.
yeah.
And I think about this kind of a lot, where there used to be a time where education was affordable, cheap or affordable,
Hmm.
and housing prices were not like skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And like you said, and it just seems like there was a time where you could work a normal job, make a decent living, have a house, and do all the things. But now it just seems like it's so far in the reach of people. Ah, It's
I
just
think
so
it the closest thing that I've come to like figure like working towards like some type of a solution for me is this
mm,
idea of like parallel systems,
mm,
because so like alternate forms, even like thinking in terms of like alternate forms of currency rather than like the
mm.
central bank backed currency, because like the
Yeah,
nowadays like the huge hedge funds like Vanguard, and they are like buying, they're actually competing with individual people to like to buy homes. Like you have these massive hedge funds with just like a ginormous, just insane, more money than they know what to do with. And they're like
exactly.
competing with like John and Jane Doe just trying to buy a house down the
Yeah,
street. And
right,
it's
right,
not
right.
fair. So like creating, starting to get into the mindset of like, okay, we can like, I was thinking, you know, you can use like precious metal as an alternate currency. You could use like seeds as an alternate
Mm,
currency. You could just use
mm.
like things that you know how to do. Like I'm really trying to get trained up. I'm trying to figure out a way to get some training, like so I know how to electrify things, so I can work like making wiring buildings and structures and stuff like that. And I've been like
Wow.
saving, you know, I know how to melt metal, like so I've been saving copper, and I want to be able to like really create from my own damn self, and like
Right.
have,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like have something to
Yeah.
offer in that way. All right,
I love
Dr.
that.
Huggins, we're gonna switch gears really quick because we're already at 45 minutes. So
Yeah, no, you're good.
I wanted to talk to you today about psychedelics, and I know that you've worked with MAPS, and
Yes, I
which is
have.
friggin' awesome. Like when I saw that, I was so excited because MAPS is like a really cool organization, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
used to listen to the MAPS podcast and stuff. And before you came on, I was talking about neuroplasticity, and also like dealing with things like depression and PTSD and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
And more and more, it's like it's breaking into the zeitgeist of the world, that we have
Mm.
these like plant and fungal medicines
Yep.
that are capable of like fairly miraculous transformations. So I
Yes.
just wanted to introduce the topic real quick and let you speak on it, and also just let folks know like what how you got involved with MAPS and what you were doing with MAPS.
Cool. All right. So, first, I want to thank the indigenous people who inhabited and taught us about plant medicine, and the people who started it and wanted to see this medicine protected. So I want to start there. And so I kind of got interested because I was applying for a job that they do psilocybin and also ketamine and assisted treatment therapy for patients with PTSD, anxiety, and they are based out in Canada, but they are buying a lot of psychiatric offices around the US. And in particular, they were buying some offices in Phoenix. And so I got kind of hooked on to psychedelic medicine because of that. So
Mhm.
started to research it more. We learned a little bit about it in school, but to be honest, it's still so taboo and it's still kind of not a viable option right now for patients.
Mhm.
Okay, but that's a caveat for that. I just want to place that there, but please keep that in mind. Okay.
Okay.
So, so I got hooked on because I was applying for this job and they were going through a lot of restructuring and it didn't feel comfortable and safe being there. So
Mm.
that didn't feel like an opportunity that I wanted to pursue. So I started to look at maybe getting educated in it, and then started to see these opportunities that were popping up for um, this psychedelic plant medicine environment. and saw that there was an opportunity for MAPS. So basically, they offer a scholarship for
Okay.
any marginalized people who are BIPOC or in the queer community, or I think also clergy. So there were a lot of different people that they offered their scholarship to. And
Okay.
luckily, out of like, they said it was 4,000 people who applied, but 25 people that they gave this scholarship to. And I was like really thrown back that this opportunity happened. And it feels like the universe is pushing me into this direction, because I mean, and there were 3 other opportunities that haven't happened yet, but maybe that'll happen. I can announce those later on. But yeah, so was offered this scholarship to go to the MAPS conference, and the MAPS conference this year was in Denver, and there was 12,000 people there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty miraculous. So there were 3 main days for the conference, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But the conference actually was much longer than that, because there was programming the few days before, and actually several days before, because some people did like these camping trips and all of these like different things around psychedelics. So yeah,
Okay.
so I was invited to, they gave me a scholarship to attend the conference. And
Amazing. And
yeah,
for listeners who don't know, MAP stands for, I believe, what does MAP stand for again?
yeah,
Multi
yeah, multi,
Association of Psychedelic Studies,
yes,
but I forget
thank
the
you.
first. It's like Multi-Purpose Association
Yeah,
or
right,
something
right.
like that. Or
Yes.
I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, I probably should know that. Yeah. But anywho, so I was asked to go there, and that was amazing. And I met some amazing, wonderful people there. I got to connect with people in Canada, Utah, Oakland, California, Oklahoma, even like Portland. So a lot of different places I got to connect with people. Did you find that?
I did. It's the
Yeah.
Multidisciplinary
I thought
Association.
multidisciplinary, but I didn't want to be wrong. So, but I was like, I think I'm seeing this.
It's
But
it. I just always in my mind it's maps, 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 maps. Like I've just been referring to it as maps for so long. I'm
yes,
like, what does it
right,
even mean? But I
right,
thought like
exactly.
listeners might not know. Like, what are we talking about right now?
And
We're
I
talking about
hate
like
when
those.
people throw out acronyms and you don't know what they mean. And but yeah, sorry,
So
but
yeah, we got it.
yeah, we got it. So I got to meet a lot of different people, but I think, and I took so many notes while I was there. Um, One of the things that I really loved about the conference is, one thing is learning that psychedelic is really not an indigenous term. So
Mm,
indigenous people don't use this term, and honestly, uh, that term necessarily doesn't. I don't gravitate towards that term because it doesn't naturally sit well with me.
mhm.
But thinking about plant medicine, that makes so much more sense to me. And I think that will make a lot more sense to my patients, explaining that. So now, another thing that I've learned about psychedelic medicine in general is that it seems like there's a big push for it and a lot of money in it.
Yep.
And unfortunately, predators and vultures are just waiting to
Yep.
um, copyright, they're waiting to
Oh
synthesize, they're waiting
yes.
to
Thank
And
you for bringing this up. This is so
yeah,
important. Yes, we
yeah,
need to stay on top of this. And because then with patenting, you can start to shelve patents. You can
yep,
use patenting as a system of control that's
ex-
been already, it's already in like full swing in terms of with energy and like innovative ways of creating energy stuff. So yeah, I'm really glad you bring this up, Dr.
yeah,
Huggins. This
right.
is
So
important.
that is definitely something that I saw there, and not everyone there had the right agenda, I think.
Okay, interesting.
And so there was 470 plus sessions in the 3 day period, and they so there was a lot of sessions, and anything you wanted to know about psychedelic medicine or psychedelics in general, there was something there. If you wanted to be an entrepreneur, if you wanted to be a practitioner, if you were a therapist, if you wanted to grow it yourself, if you wanted to make music. So there was so many things for 12,000 people to find themselves like and what they wanted from this conference.
Yeah.
Um, and I gravitated towards the BIPOC sessions, and that was really helpful for me because it elevated my thinking in plant medicine. Because I feel like I've had so many years of schooling and all this teaching to let me know that it's actually about going backwards. It's about going back to whole foods and seeing what plants and produce can help heal us. Now, I don't think there's not a plant medicine out there that's going to lower blood pressure the way that this synthesized medicine is able to do. But I think over a long period of time, if we do use those whole foods, then maybe we won't have to make that change to take that synthesized blood pressure medicine. Okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think another thing about the conference that I learned is really trying to appreciate versus appropriate, and like appreciate the medicine, and that because like tobacco is a plant medicine, and it is one of the most powerful plant medicines that we know in all of the Americas, one of the most powerful one. However, because of Western society, we have monetized it. We have put so many addictive elements to it. We've,
Yes.
added so many chemicals to make it even more addictive. And now, unfortunately, we see this crisis of cancer and COPD and people abusing the medicine.
Yeah.
So that is it's a really big thing, is because just like opium is a great plant medicine. However, because of synthesizing, because of Western society, because of adding these addictive elements, we have, put ourselves into this overdose crisis. So,
Yeah. And it started even with like colonialism with the opium wars and stuff like that. Like it's
yep.
been going on for a long time. How these,
Yeah.
I really appreciate, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just really
Go
appreciate
ahead.
that you bring it back to this point of like what we're really doing here and what we're really talking about. Like what
Exactly.
I like the appreciation, not appropriation aspect of it is so important because as I journey with plant medicine, I prefer the term plant medicine also. It just feels better.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's the message I keep getting from the plants, to be honest with you, Dr. Huggins. The message I keep getting from the plants is like, yo, like keep your ego in check. This is about like expanding all of our psyches. And it's
Yes. Right.
yes,
Right.
you do. It's like sacred. You get shown things, the
Yes.
information gets
Yes.
presented to you, and you have
Yes.
visions and realizations. But like, this is not about your ego.
No.
It's not about you like attaining things or like
No.
grasping things. It's
No.
very much the going fungal aspect of it, of like, this is about how you
Yes.
connect with the medicine, with Mother Earth, and then with your fellow psychonauts and fellow humans.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's foundational.
Exactly. Right. And I feel like, just like you said, a lot of people are not thinking about symbiosis, and we want to really be able to thrive in this environment, not like be a virus. We want to be able to be fungal and edify and help other people and uplift other people. Um, because, like you said, these medicines are really powerful, and they, from this conference, a lot of practitioners were saying that these medicines will teach you what you need to know. Um, but the problem is that we have a lot of people who are trying to get rich. We have a lot of people who abuse medications and plant medicine. And really, it's about getting with, and I'm not just plugging myself or anyone else, but it's really about ushering into this with someone else that can help you identify what those history, your family history and problems are, what you can do to love yourself and to be ready for that medicine, because it's really about therapy before, during, and after dosing with psilocybins and plant medicine. Like you talked about the neuroplasticity. That neuroplasticity is helpful for opening up those pathways to help you get out of that rut. But if you don't have any skills prior to that, during or after that, then you're going to go back into the same rut that you were before.
Yes. It reminds me of this idea that like the real work of the trip or of the experience happens
Yeah.
like after. It
Yeah.
happens like when
Right.
you are no longer in that altered state, and
Yes.
now you're trying to integrate
Yeah.
everything that you learned and realized.
Yeah.
And now you also have to integrate it. You're not in that altered state anymore. You're,
Right.
you're
Right.
grounded in reality. You have like you might have to go to your workplace. You might have to deal with like people that are difficult.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, poof, that's where the real
Yes.
work comes in, is that
Right.
integration and grounding aspect of it.
Right, right. And honestly, and two, I think just from a practitioner standpoint, is that there's so many things that are happening right now, right? Like we would live in a Western society, like hands down, like that is like the end all be all, like this is where we are. Like we
Yeah.
are in a Western society. However, so right now the psychedelic community is going through this shift where they're trying to find the proper education and thing to say, hey, this is what we identify as validity and something that we're advocating, that this has licensed a person in plant medicine, psychedelics, assisted therapy, whatever it is, right? And we don't have that yet. We don't have a, you know, society that is deeming this person is certified in psychedelic or plant medicine.
Right.
So that's the shift that's happening now. So for me, I'm not sure. There's so many programs out there, right? But I'm not sure if I want to spend time, energy, and money into a program that's not going to be deemed valid
Right.
for me to practice like plant medicine. And
Yeah.
so right now I'm kind of in this waiting game to see who's going to be the one that because there's a program in Europa, there's a program in California, the Integrative Institute there. So there's a lot of different programs out there, but
Yeah.
I just want to see who's gonna win necessarily,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I really don't want to waste my money, time, and
Of
energy
course.
into a program where I can't be a certified practitioner for patients.
Yeah, you're trying to help patients. Like you're
Yeah.
trying to work with people in a way that is like sustainable, that is
Yes.
no dramas, that you can actually do the work. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you are. Like I'm really glad that you're out there and that you
Yeah.
have this calling, because
Yeah.
you're absolutely perfect for this. Like your
Oh,
vibe and
that's
your
sweet.
awareness, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
just even grounding it immediately right at the beginning of the conversation, I really appreciated that. Like let's
Yeah.
first off let's be a little bit humble for a second and give thanks
Yes.
to like the generations and
Yeah.
generations and like hundreds of
Yes.
thousands of years of human societies that have been working
Exactly.
with these medicines, like
Yeah.
building the groundwork and all, and the scaffolding for us to then be able to like build on top of that.
Right.
That is like, it's absolutely essential. And it's not
Yes.
about like, people get triggered by like things like political correctness. It's not about that. It's about being real. It's about
And being
having
respectful.
soul.
Yes.
Yes, respect,
Exactly.
soul.
Exactly.
So unfortunately, it's already after 10
No,
and I have
no,
to
no,
go
no,
pretty
no.
soon.
No, yeah, you're good. Yeah. Okay.
I wanted to, well, we're going to circle the landing of bringing the conversation to a close. I wanted to
Sure.
get your last thoughts on, specifically, because I always joke that at this point I'm like 85% fungal, like my consciousness is about, and it's just always the percentage keeps increasing. I
Yeah.
absolutely love psilocybin, and I
Yes.
feel
Yeah.
like it's I've struggled with anxiety and depression really
Absolutely.
bad, and
Yeah.
it's really helping me. And I'm
Yeah.
speaking of like the synthesized medicines, like I'm really trying to let go of, it's my own personal goal, is I would just like to let go of the synthesized medicines. And there's a couple synthesized medicines that I still take for my mental health, and
Sure.
the psilocybin is really helping me to like, I'm
Yes.
going more in the direction of the mushroom and less in the direction of the synthesis. That just feels
Got
right
it.
for me.
Got it.
So I
Okay.
would love to hear just your final thoughts on like specifically psilocybin and the idea of neuroplasticity,
Mhm.
things that we can do even beyond the psilocybin. Like, what do you know about neuroplasticity? What are some tips that you can give to listeners about how to keep our minds neuroplastic and keep generating new brain cells? And then however
Yeah.
you would like to weave psilocybin into that,
Got it.
Dr.
Okay.
Huggins.
Ooh, okay, that's a tough question. I'm trying to reel it in because I have like so many
So many
thoughts that
things.
are firing, right?
Yeah,
But also, let me just start this by saying um, we don't have to figure it all out today.
that's
Like
true. You're
I'm
gonna,
happy to come back on again. I'm obviously I love having conversation with you, and so that's one thing that
yes,
today
you will
is
come
not.
back on again.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Today is
Yeah.
not the only day, right? Let's let's
Yes.
let's manage that expectation, right? Okay.
Yes.
Also, I think that a lot of what I hope patients and other people will understand is that you can't solve it all on your own. Like you weren't created on your own. So it's so important to have a connection with someone that you trust and that you can continue to have these conversations. You know why? Because we're quick forgetters. We get into a rut. We get into this, like,
Yes.
this is how I am. And we like just go off track. And then we disrupt the neuroplasticity. Um,
Okay.
because our brains and our bodies are always looking for like stability and like sameness. But in order for us to grow, we have to keep evolving and keep having conversations and keep connecting with other humans and keep, the conversation going.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just stuck and we're left to our own devices. Another thing, my third point is because of that, like, I would suggest finding a practitioner or someone who that you can trust and you can evolve with. I'll use one example. So before I bought my first house, I was really nervous and scared, and this was probably maybe like a year before I bought it. I was stuck in this, like, I have to keep it all a secret. I have to like figure it all myself. I have to like figure it out myself, basically.
Yeah.
And so I told myself, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to find, you know, 3 people who I really trust, who have a house, who I can trust and tell them, you know, what my credit score is, how much money I have, like tell them all the things that I don't know necessarily or what I'm scared about. And then that way they can give me a good idea and picture of like how to navigate that.
Yeah.
And I really think that was the thing that helped me to buy a house, because I was able to let go and be vulnerable with those people. And so
Yeah.
I can elevate and get and attain the house. So I
Yeah.
really do think it's the same with our mental health. It's the same with education. It's the same with finding a job or, you know, all of these things. I think we should really find 2 or 3 people who we really trust and we really see that they are where we want to be or they're going in the same direction as me.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, then that will help us elevate and get to the level that we need to be. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, um, I don't think that there are plant medicines out there that can compete with synthesized medicines. Like, I don't think, and this is my own opinion, is that the research has not been shown where these plants are equivalent to these medications, like, you know, chemotherapy. Like, there are no plant medicines that are competing with chemotherapy. There's no plant medicine that's going to extract, you know, this tumor out of your body, right? So we have to have a healthy balance of both and find people who are where you want to be, who are going in that same direction. And that way you can get clear with who you are and you can elevate and you can grow into the best you possibly can. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that, Dr. Huggins. I
Yeah.
appreciate, you know, it's good sometimes to be like, so one thing I know about neuroplasticity is you have to like put yourself in uncomfortable situations and you have to like learn new things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I want to pick up this conversation because I feel a little bit differently from you. And but you have way more education than I do on it. So it's like, and I
Yeah.
admit that
Go ahead.
I
Yes.
have like a
Right, right,
little bit
right.
of magical thinking. It's just my
Of course.
nature. My
Right.
nature
Right.
is like that. So uh, we're gonna pick up this conversation next time and go
Yes.
deeper into it. But I also think that it's incredibly important to keep that open mind and that flexibility of thinking. So like
Yes.
I need to always return to the fact that I don't have all the answers. And
Right. And
you
no
know,
one does, right? Like no one, and that's a good thing, because
it
if you have
is.
all the answers, it will all be up to you.
Exactly. And that's what I like how you say, like, finding those people that you trust and that
Yes.
you connect with on that soul level and you have that mutual respect with,
Yeah.
that is gonna be because you're absolutely right that like we talked first time we spoke, we talked a little bit about the self-sabotage that happens. And
Yes.
that can happen if you're like locked in your own head and you start to feel this like how you were saying you felt like the getting a house you had to almost like keep this secret and it probably
Yes.
started to like weigh on you. And then as soon
Yes.
as you like, opened up and you were like, actually,
Yeah.
I can trust some other humans to like help me attain this.
Yes.
That is
Right.
very important. So I
Good.
appreciate you saying that.
Good. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so now this is awesome. So now we already have our next conversation. I'm gonna be making
Absolutely.
notes.
Oh, good. Perfect. Oh, this
And
is so awesome. And
it
yes, like
is.
I said, I would love to come back. Just let me know. And yeah, I would love to connect. And thank you so much about sharing about your dad. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just think this is what it's all about, is having these conversations and growing. That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And also, I appreciate you as well sharing. Also, Dr. Huggins, it's just like
Yeah.
an amazing way to start the day. And
Yes.
before I let you go, just let folks know out there in the rabbit holes of space and time how
Sure.
they can reach out and get in touch with you if they would like to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I am on my website is awareness-oasis.com. You can reach me by email at hello@awareness-oasis.com. I would love to connect. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. That's Awareness Oasis. Yeah, I put out meditation videos a lot, and just normal content and stuff. And yeah, please reach out. I love to connect. I love um, just talking about life. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Always a pleasure, Dr. Huggins. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much
so
for jumping on.
much.
And
All right.
come into the coffee shop. I'll hook you up. I'll
Yeah.
be there this
Oh,
afternoon.
cool.
So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I'll
All
see you
right.
soon.
Much love. Take care,
All
everybody.
right. Take care. All right.